Okay, so I've got 2 activities today. We'll record them separately. So this first one, we're going to read the text called Dear King George. And this one, we're going to work on fluency. Have you heard of fluency before? Do you know what fluency means? What do you know about fluency?
Like the passage, the fluency passage. There's a lot of things about fluency.
Yeah, there are a lot of things about fluency. And today we're going to focus on the speed that or like the rate at which we read. Reading fast isn't always important. Reading fast is great, but you want to make sure that you're able to understand what you're reading. And sometimes when we read too fast, we don't pick up on what we're reading. So today, with fluency, we're going to look at the rate at which we read. If we use expression where expression is needed, if we focus on, we think about comprehension and like going back through looking at context clues if we don't understand something, those kind of things, okay? So we're going to read a story called Dear King George. It's more of a passage, and we'll be reading it several times. So first, I'll read it to you, and then we'll kind of discuss it. We don't have to worry. I'm going to fold this paper over because we don't need to worry about those questions. Yeah. Okay. So I'll have you follow along with me as I read Dear King George. So in the late 1700s, the American colonists were unhappy with King George III of England. They didn't think he was doing what a good leader should do. He charged unfair taxes, would not allow trade with other countries, and made colonists open their homes for soldiers to live with them. Colonists felt very far away from their king. Something needed to change. The colonists began to rebel. So this word is highlighted. It's bolded. Do you know what rebel means?
Nope.
No. So it says the colonists felt very far away from their king. Something needed to change. So if we are going to rebel, we're looking to change something. An example of rebelling would be if your mom tells you, Addison, you need to clean your room. And you say, no,
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, you're rebelling. You are going against something. And so the colonists want to go against their king, just like you want to go against your mom.
About taking my phone away.
Oh, does she? So that's a retaliate.
And then I run away.
Okay, so the colonists began to rebel. They began to go against their king. So the Second Continental Congress formed in 1775 after fighting began in the American Revolution. Made up of delegates from the 13 American colonies, the Congress met in Philadelphia to lead the colonies toward independence. In 1776, a committee of the Congress selected Thomas Jefferson to write a letter to King George III. We've heard about Thomas Jefferson before. What do we know about him?
He was the president.
He was the president. And so he was also the one that wrote the letter to King George III. So Jefferson had already proven himself to be an honorable and knowledgeable man. He was also an excellent writer. The letter was a dangerous thing because it would be considered treason by the king. Have you heard of the term treason before?
Nope.
Treason. So it says the letter was a dangerous thing because it would be considered treason by the king. That means it's going against the king. The king, treason, it's kind of like a charge against you. Like we've got charges for speeding. You get charged for speeding. Or this would be something where you would go to jail. You'd go to prison for treason, for going against your country and your people. So the Congress was opposing their lawful ruler. People who were associated with this letter could be imprisoned or killed for saying they wanted to be independent from the king. Jefferson's historic letter became known as the Declaration of Independence. It listed all the reasons that the colonists thought the king was not a very good king. It said that the king and the colonists should break their relationship with each other. and each should go their own way. Congress approved the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. All the members of the Second Continental Congress signed it at the bottom. One of the men would become famous for his signature. John Hancock, President of the Second Continental Congress, signed in large, bold letters. His name has become a synonym for signature. So, now I want you to read. If we were in an actual classroom, I would have read it, and then I would have you guys go in partner pairs. But because Elena's outside, we'll be partner pairs. So I'll have you read it to me now, and then we're going to talk about the content, what the content is about.
In the late 1700s, the American colonists were unhappy with King George III of England. They did not think he was doing what a good leader should do. He charged unfair taxes, would not allow trade with other countries, and made colonists open their homes for soldiers to live with them. Colonists felt very far away from their king. Something needed to change. The colonists began to rebel. The Second
Continental
Congress formed in 1775. After fighting began the American Revolution, made up of delegates from the 13 American colonies. The Congress met in Philadelphia to lead the colonies toward the independence. In 1776, a committee of George III. The Congress selected Thomas Jefferson to write a letter to the King George III. Jefferson already had proven himself to be an honorable and knowledgeable man. He was also an excellent writer. The letter was a dangerous thing because it would be considered treason by the king. The Congress opposing their lawful ruler. People who were associated in the letter could be found imprisoned or killed for saying they wanted to be independent from the king. Jefferson's historical letter became known as the Declaration of Independence. It listed all reasons that the colonists through the king was not a very good king. It said the king of the colonists should break their relationship with each other, and each should go their own way. Congress approved the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. All of the members of the Second Continental Congress signed at the bottom. One of the men would become famous for his signature, John Hancock, President of the Second Continental Congress, signed in large, bold letters. His name became a synonym for his signature.
Nice job of reading. So I have this little activity called a word sort. So basically it's words that are picked out from this text, and I want you to categorize them however you want. So just sort them in some sort of category. But there's some words that you might not know, and the words that you don't know make one pile, and the words that you do know make another pile, and we'll go over those words that you don't know, and then you can put them into a category.
Okay.
So I guess rebel. What do you know what rebel means?
Fighting against each other.
Yes, good job. Okay, so you do know this one. What about colonists?
Colonists are people that want different people, and they are fighting.
Yeah. Well, they're like people that live in a colony.
A committee is like a board.
Yeah.
Head board.
Yep.
Synonym is like there's synonyms and antonyms. And a synonym is they said They're doing it in class. A synonym is a deal. We use that at school.
Thesaurus.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you look up fun, and it would be like exciting. Exciting.
So synonym actually has a different meaning. And I want to look it up so you can see.
Equivalent method.
Okay.
Synonym.
I'm going to look up.
Autograph. A word or phrase that means exactly new another
Okay.
saying.
So here we go.
There's 3 different ones.
Okay, so in this meaning, so we know synonyms are things that, like words that mean almost the same thing. So like fun, exciting, happy, cheerful, sad, gloomy. Like they all they mean the same thing or similar to the same thing, but they're different words. So a synonym in this situation, so it says his name has become a synonym for a signature. So on Google, it says a synonym is a person or thing that is so closely associated with a particular quality or idea that the mention of their name calls it to mind. So John Hancock, when people think of John Hancock, he is so closely related to the Second Continental Congress that they said his name is like a synonym for the signature. So that's what that means.
Taxes.
Yes.
It's something your parents have to pay.
Yeah, yep. Unfortunately, you will have to pay taxes too when
We
you get
all
a job.
have to pay them.
But that's all good. Taxes, some people complain about them, some people are happy with them. But yes, it's something that we have to pay.
Independence, like freedom.
Freedom, yes, you got it.
Associated.
If something is associated with something, like you are, it means you're close to something or you have a relationship with something. So, like, as an example, a teacher is associated with a school, meaning she has something to do with the school. She has a relationship with the school, whether it's a job or it's a place for her to go learn.
Imprisoned.
Imprisoned. What do we think that word
You
means?
go to jail.
Yes.
It's like a jail deal.
That is correct. So going to jail.
Revolution. Fight. Another fight. A bigger fight than rebel.
Okay. Let's look at, I gotta find that in the context because sometimes revolution has different meanings. So where can we find revolution?
I just saw it. Where did it? No. Where did it go? I just seen it. Is it not on here?
Okay, I'm starting to wonder. Okay, so in the late 1700s, the American colonists were unhappy with King George III of England. They didn't think he was doing what a good leader should do. He charged unfair taxes, would not allow trade with other countries, and made colonists open their homes for soldiers to live with them. Colonists felt very far away from their king. Something needed to change. The colonists began to rebel. So the Second Continental Congress formed in 1775 after fighting began in the American Revolution. Okay, so the American Revolution. This is What did you say? I think you were on the right track.
Big fight.
Yes, it's like
Big fight.
America wanting to revolve into something else, and so yeah.
Choosing presidents.
Yes, so a fight occurred because of that. Okay, so we've got opposing, treason, and delegates.
Delegates. It's like special things, kind.
So delegates
In
are people that, like people choose these, and they speak for the people. So we can think of them as like representatives when we vote for people. Delegates are, in this sense, they're people that they were the group of people that made up Congress.
Reason. It means like for treason.
And remember, this was a charge.
Oh, they had to charge thousands of bucks to like.
Yep, they could charge. The king could charge treason against somebody because they went against the country.
And then opposing is, I don't know.
Opposing is like the opposite of something. So like if you think one thing, then I'm going to think the opposite. I'm going to think of the opposing side of your argument. So opposing in this situation would be, you've got the Americans, and the opposing people are the king and his people. Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to go, I'll have you categorize these into, well, you create your own categories for these words, okay?
There we go. The category.
No, that doesn't count. So we went through the meanings, and of course I don't expect you to remember what all the words mean. So if you do have questions, let me know. But yeah, sort them through, and then I'll have you put them into whichever category you think works best for you.
There we go. They're all mixed up, and it's all one category. Synonyms. Rebel. What was the other one that meant fight? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Which one did I ever say that was a big fight? It was rebel and one more. Was it revolution? That's what it is.
Yep.
So
revolution. Okay. So you put revolution and rebel together. I like that.
Imprisoned. If you're imprisoned and you don't pay your taxes.
Oh, you can. Okay.
And then.
So you can.
Committee and communists. Your people and people stuff.
Yeah. And you might have multiples too that go into these categories. You might. It depends on however you want to categorize them.
Independence and associated. These two go together.
Delegates and opposing? How so?
I don't know.
Oh no, if you have an idea, you won't be wrong. There's no right or wrong. It's however you understand it.
Independence is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So that would go with imprisoned and taxes. Because you could get freed.
Oh, nice.
If you pay your taxes.
Nice. So you...
And then associated could go with people. You could associate
I like
people.
that.
And then synonym is bad people. Oh no, this is words.
Yeah, they were similar.
And then,
like,
what did I say for treason?
Treason is like it's a charge that people
So
can be
it
charged
go
against.
with imprisoned and taxes.
Yep.
So we can hold these.
Okay.
There we go.
So you put committee, colonists, and associated together.
People related.
People being related. We've got treason, taxes, imprisoned, and independence together.
It So you could go to prison if you don't pay your taxes. And if you do pay your taxes, you could get freedom and independence.
Okay.
And then synonym is word.
So you left that one on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we've got opposing and delegates.
And I don't know what I remember what I said for that.
So delegates are like a group of people.
People.
And opposing means opposite.
So people could be mean or nice, and they could be opposite.
Okay.
And then revolution and rebel means big fights.
Big fights. All right. I like it. So based off of your word sort, based off of your word sort and remembering what you read, what can you tell me about Dear King George, this passage? What do you remember? What do you think it was about?
The committee was not happy with him, and they wanted Thomas Jefferson to write a deal to King George.
All right. And why weren't they happy with King George? What do you remember?
Because they were getting unfair charge taxes and stuff.
Good job. Yes, you nailed it. All right.
I knew.
So if we were in the classroom, I'd have you read this with multiple students together, and then you would take this home and read it to your family and just work on your reading skills. So there's that activity.